As always, starting out a couple of minutes early. There we go. We got sound. Don't need anybody on a sound check today. Although I think Michael's probably there. Look at this. Oh, yeah. Is the frequency in use? All righty. The frequency is not in use. This is K4PEW with the Mount Juliet Simplex Radio Net. Is there any amateur radio operators up there? Is there any emergency or priority traffic? The answer is no. Interrupt me if I'm wrong. If anyone has any emergency priority traffic, just break in at any time. The net may be broken at any time for emergency traffic. You can see us on the web at 146415.net. That's 146415.net, mysteriously like the frequency we're on. Or you can see us on Yahoo Groups at MJ_SS, or you can send me an email at Kilo4 Papa Echo Whiskey at ARRL.net. That's K4PEW. The net normally meets at 8 p.m. every Wednesday and Saturday night at 8 p.m. And it's on 146.415 FM Simplex. And the purpose of net is to have fun, so to help people learn how to do better with their rigs, their antennas, and their communication skills to better serve their families, their communities, and, well, the families, their neighbors, and the general community. We invite everyone to use the net to announce amateur radio events, activities, resources, and training in support of the cities surrounding Mount Juliet, which go out about 45 miles. So that includes Nashville and places like Murfreesboro and all kinds of places. Does anybody have any announcements for the net?
K4 Barbecue.
Hey, go ahead, Brent.
Thanks, Paul. Just wanted to remind everybody that on Tuesday night at 8:30, we do have the Wilson County Emergency Management net, and we need to try to find more people on the west side to blow that repeater up. Basically, we need to use them or lose them.
Okay, very good. Well, I send out reminders for that Tuesday afternoon so people get the word out. I'm not sure what's keeping them off. I understand you had a handful this past Tuesday.
Well, it was kind of skimpy, but like I said, every week we're good, just like we did with this net. You know, we keep adding people to it.
Oh no, it'll take some time. I assure you. This one's only taken 4.5 years. All right, but I will be making an announcement. Of course, everyone probably already knows from the announcements that there is a Tuesday night. It's 8:30, right? I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, that's affirmative at 8:30, and there's let's see, we got the west end repeater and the east repeater, and I don't have the frequencies on me right at the moment.
No, but I sent out that reminder. There's two 70-centimeter repeaters. One is here in Mount Juliet, and the one over in Lebanon. So there's 2 opportunities to be able to check in. I do send those out, by the way, every Tuesday, just as a reminder. And it goes out to about 77 folks. So I'm surprised we haven't had more participation. I was out of the house last night, so I wasn't able to do it myself. But anyway, appreciate that, Brent. And again, that's the Wilson County Emergency Management Office that has a emergency operations, emergency preparedness net on Tuesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Let's see what else we got. Any other announcements? Well, it's not really an announcement. Oh, yeah, I do have two announcements. One is we're looking into getting some Make Simplex Great Again hats, the red ones with the white letters, and possibly with our calls on our hand calls on the back of them. But I'll be sending out a picture of the hats, a sample, as well as a cost, obviously, and we'll be selling those at cost. Let me see what else I have about that. Oh, the hats, yeah, red hats with the white letters. Make Simplex Great Again. It'd be great to show up with 15 or 20 or 30 people at the Lebanon Ham Fest with wearing those hats. That'd be kind of cool. Or maybe at Field Day wearing those hats. That'd be cool too. All right, and the other thing I have is I just did a little research today, and we really should be proud of ourselves. I again reviewed some of the D-Star use that's listed on the web, and they have a real-time, it's real-time, but it's delayed real-time on how much activity traffic is on the D-Star repeaters around the world. And it showed about, you can imagine, about 300 and something in a 24-hour period on, and that's D-Star activity on repeaters that are connected to the internet. So that's the distinction. And now that's not so bad. 300 and something in any given hour, nothing to sneeze at. But then I looked further and realized that 60% of those D-Star users were donglers, D-Star donglers. They don't even use radios. So us working Simplex on the air with anywhere from 15 to 30 check-ins on any given night of the week where we operate, we're doing awful good, considering that most of the repeaters in the country can't get 10 check-ins through a repeater on any given day. 10. The most I ever saw was 8 or 10. Even today, I only saw 8 or 10 in any 24-hour period on any of the big repeaters, whether that's Atlanta or Macon or Jacksonville or Miami, or I checked a bunch of them, including K4CPO in Nashville, which only had, I don't remember if it had 1 or 2 check-ins through the repeater. Not that that's so terrible. They may be working Simplex. I don't know. But all I'm telling you is 60% of the people on the D-Star network are donglers, those beloved donglers. So anyway, that's the big deal. Is there any questions on any of that big news? That's not really news, but it's just an interesting point for me. All righty. Well, then we'll start taking check-ins. I think we're starting from the west today. Hang on. Say again? I had somebody trying to check in on a break there. Hold on. Who's there? Yeah, Ross. I think that's Ross.
That's Rick, Paul.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rick. Go ahead.
How's everybody doing?
We're doing great. We just started the net.
Yeah, no, I was listening in here. Got a lot of static on this end here. I think my little antenna is not working so well. But anyway, I can hear you. Hopefully I can hear some others doing.
All righty. Hold on one second here. Hold on, I dropped my pen. That's the trouble when you're on a live feed. Everybody can see a big goofy here. And I realized I had a shirt on that had food stains on it, so I look like your classic ham here. All right, Rick, we'll check you in. And my gosh, that's KN4T, Tango, Juliet, Foxtrot, and Rick. Oh, I forget where you are.
Ashland City.
Oh, yes, of course. It's Ashland. Yeah, I'll get it straight one of these days. Yeah, you sound good, though. Okay, I'll go ahead and check you in. We'll start from the west. Let's do that. We'll just start. I'm pretty sure it was from the west anyway. Please come now west of Mount Juliet, please.
KM4YRF.
Hey, Michael. I got to tell you, you sound better than your brother does.
Yeah, he's struggling a little bit tonight to hear. It's got a lot of noise.
Yeah, he's a little bit weak to me, but it's readable. Good signal. I mean, considering the distance and not the greatest of antennas, doing fine.
Yeah, I can. Most of the time, I can hear him. Sometimes the noise gets the best of it, though, and I can't hear him. But most of the time, I can hear him on Simplex.
Right. Well, it's hit and miss when you've got, just antenna issues and distance issues. Yeah, it's going to be trouble. He won't have any trouble once he gets up a better antenna.
You're right about that, and that's going to be soon.
Well, what's soon mean?
Quick.
Is that quicker than soon?
We're gonna try to make it happen as fast as we possibly can.
Oh, I think that's even quicker than quicker or soon.
I couldn't resist that, Paul.
Yeah, in other words, you mean when you get around to it and you have the cash.
That's right.
All right, very good. That's Michael, Kilo Mike 4, Yankee Romeo Foxtrot playing the politician. And he's in Belshire. And it was Rick, and his call is, I'll get it straight one of these days. Rick's call is Kilo November 4 Tango Juliet Foxtrot. And he's in Ashland City, and he's got his brand new ticket, a brand new radio, brand new antenna. A little weak tonight, but he's working on improving that antenna, so we're looking forward to that. Who else west of Mount Juliet?
Katie for OEN. This is Mary. And sitting here in beautiful Belshire, close to where Mike is, of course. And Ari and I just ran in from dinner. Once again, just barely got here in time. So hello to everybody. Hope everybody's having a good evening. And I will pass the mic over to Marty. Thank you.
We're on the net. Hang on one second. Looking for Marty.
Or BQK. And I don't want to be a lollygagger.
Oh, no, you came in right on time. Even if you check in, on late check-ins, doesn't make you a lollygagger. If you come in after that, and you guys would never, tell you what, most people wouldn't even check in if they were going to be a lollygagger. But good to have you in there, Marty and Mary. And that's Marty and Mary, who are married and live in the same household there in Belshire. I think right adjacent to Michael in Belshire. That's Michael KM4YRF. And that's Mary, Kilo Delta 4, Oscar, Echo November, and Marty, her husband, Kilo Delta 4, Bravo, Quebec Kilo, and they're both, I appreciate you both being there. All right, who else we got? West, please come now.
KN4, OXN, David, and Southeast National.
Hey, David, how are you doing tonight?
Doing excellent. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I didn't realize until I can see myself on the live feed here on YouTube. I didn't mention the YouTube. You can go to YouTube and see me, or hear the net is really the important part, not seeing me, because today I prefer you didn't see me. I realize I've got food stains on the front of my shirt. It's kind of fun. But it's Brain Trust's channel, BRAINTRUSTS, or my call, K4PEW. You can do the search, and either way in that YouTube search block, and you come up with me somewhere. Yeah, David, no, doing great, really. It's always a good night. I just did the math. That's the other announcement I had here. What did I do with my notes? I don't know what I do with them. Well, dang. There it is. This is our approximately, give or take one or two, our 470th net, if you can imagine that, in 4 years and 6 months and a week or so.
I think I believe that.
Oh, it's believable. I missed some of them. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, so I missed some of the nets. And but so you take away 3, and that's what, 400. I did 467 or so. Anyway, it was good to have you in there, David. How are you doing? I mean, is it doing all right down there?
Everything's just peachy down here.
Ah, no. I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not.
No, I'm being truthful here tonight.
No, it's just it's funny that when I lived in Tampa, which I lived there for 36 years, I'd get people who lived over, if you're familiar with the west coast of Florida, they live in St. Petersburg or Clearwater or one of those municipalities along the coast, not in Tampa. And I found out from a lot of them, they lived over in those other cities because they said, I live here because I don't want to live in Tampa. And sometimes I get the feeling people in Wilson County live in Wilson County because they don't want to live in Nashville. It's too busy.
That's the only one thing different over here.
I don't know. I couldn't say. I haven't spent a lot of time in Nashville, but it's a neat city. No question about that. I didn't even give it a second thought until I moved to this area 7 years ago. It was a little over 7 years ago. So it's a neat area. Middle Tennessee is great. All right, that's David. Kilo November 4, Oscar X-Ray November in this East Nashville, did you say?
Southeast National.
Southeast Nashville. All right, very good. Good to have you in there. Who else we got west of Mount Juliet?
Whiskey 4, Alpha Whiskey Echo.
Hey, John, are you using a different mic or a different radio?
I'm crossband on a handy talkie into that little Kenwood TM B71.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I knew it sounded just a little different. The audio isn't quite as clear, quite as crisp. It's a little bit, I don't want to say muffled, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's going through a couple of extra steps.
Yeah, it sounds good. It almost sounds like it's a phone patch.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to check the YouTube later and compare it.
No, it really does. It's got that kind of quality to it, if you know what I mean. And I know you do. But yeah, good to have you in there, John. Everything going all right on your end?
Oh, just fine. Yeah, it's actually really nice to see good weather. That's why I was outside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was. It was pretty outside today. In fact, I actually was sweating when I was working out there, and I really wasn't working hard.
Yeah, I even started getting the big extension ladders out to do some antenna work.
Well, better you than me. All right. Well, very good. If you need help, I can probably ask somebody else because I'm not going to get up on a roof.
Sometimes the higher I get up there, I start questioning who I need to call.
Well, put first on your list and your emergency numbers, the fire department.
Exactly.
All right. Very good. That's John, Whiskey 4 Alpha Whiskey Echo, and he's in Bellevue, which is southwest Nashville side of the business there. Who else west of Mount Juliet? All right, moving to the south of 40. Please come on.
November 8th, Papa Yankee.
First up, south of 40. How you doing, Rusty?
Doing well, Paul. How are your little ladies doing?
Oh, well, as I told you, both of them are in the hospice program now here, but still at the house, and just well, I don't have any control of the situation. God does, so I don't know what's going to go on day to day. Really, just watching the decline in people's final days, weeks, months, or whatever.
Yeah, I was thinking about you earlier when my mom was about 83 years old and was in an assisted living place. She would tell me about the things that all these little old ladies did. And finally, one day I said, Mom, you do understand you're a little old lady, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's my. Of course, I can remember when my mom's mother was 89. Yeah, she was just I think a week short of being 90. So my mother surpassed that mark, and my mother's doing actually a little better than her mother was at this age. My grandmother was not incapacitated, but really not doing well the last couple of years. And my mother's doing reasonably well up until just recently. Yeah, I appreciate your thoughts and prayers on that. They're both going through some, well, like they say I got a book here. It's called End of Life something, and it's you don't give that much thought until you got something going on end of life.
I understand, and y'all are in our prayers. But have you a good evening. We'll talk to you later in APPY.
Yeah, very good, Rusty. That was Rusty, November 8th, Papa Yankee. He's in Murfreesboro. Great signal tonight. Yeah, do listen to the YouTube video. At least you can see. I'm going to sit up straight. There you go. You can see I got stains here somewhere. I'm not looking at the picture right now. I didn't realize it until I started the net that I had a shirt on that I should have changed. So you can tell this is off the cuff, ready to rock and roll radio with a video. All right, who else south of 40? Anybody else south of I-40?
KM4VVA.
Okay, we had 2 or 3 in there. Hang on, let me get. Dan was in there first. Dan, I was thinking about you today. Hadn't heard from you in a little while.
Well, I have my own life issues, depending on which doctor I need to see.
Oh yes, the only numbers I have in my phone now are doctors and nurses.
Yeah, I get my doctors send me to doctors that send me to doctors, so I guess keeps the economy going.
Well, there's some truth in that because as the population ages, I just heard Marty was telling me a little while ago. His dad was in the pharmacy business, that's why he knows this stuff. But he says that there's even more pharmacies moving into the area, and I'm not surprised because, as those things are needed, as you got an aging population.
That's true, and all of us are aging.
Everybody but me and you.
Take me out of that equation.
All right. Very good. That's Dan. And he lives over here right near Mount Juliet. He is just south of 40 over near Providence Marketplace. And that's Kilo Mike 4, Victor Alpha. I think I heard K1 SPD in there.
Hey, come back to me, Paul.
All righty. Who was the other? There was somebody. Was it Bill? Was that you in there? Did I hear NNY in there? Yo, Bill. I don't know. Is this thing on? All right. Was there anybody else besides Scott?
K4ID.
No, I said anybody else, not any, just somebody else. How you doing? How you doing, Robin?
I'm well, and you? Sorry to hear about your mom, but I guess we're all headed that direction.
Yeah, it's one per customer. I don't know if you knew that. It is. There's no favor in us mortals. We all got to get buried someday. Well, buried, burned, or I don't know what the alternative is to that. Just left out in the yard with one of those black plastic bags.
I'm gonna have an orange one.
Yeah, well, actually, where you work, you could just show up and sit at the desk and nobody noticed for a couple of years.
No, too many people depend on me.
Yeah. No, they just figure you were just doing on a project,
Right. Yeah. Close the door. Nobody will bother.
All right, that was Robin, or is Robin. It's Kilo 4 India Delta Charlie, and he's about 6 miles south of me over near Percy Priest Lake, west of Mount Juliet Road. Good signal there, Robin. And I heard, Scott, am I coming back to you yet?
Yeah, why not? K1 SPD.
Hey, you sound pretty good tonight. What made you didn't like the downstairs?
I just don't hear anybody that well downstairs. A couple of Mount Juliet stations, one person in the west. Everybody else I have to hear on the YouTube feed.
Yeah, I don't think it's as much fun when you can't hear stations. It's not as much fun. Again, it's easy for me, not just because I have the antenna and the elevation, but I'm in the middle. You're not, and that's one of the difficulties when you're on the one of the outer rings, and so in turn, some people can't hear others. I understand.
Yeah, I can pretty much hear everybody upstairs, but I'm on the better antenna. Absolutely. Yeah. Radio I'm using downstairs, I need them about 15, 20 feet of the max versus what beyond on top of the house. This one hears much better.
So on this radio, you're using the Omni or the Beam?
I'm on the Omni.
And you can hear pretty much everybody?
Yeah.
Your elevation, you got a good antenna there. And which antenna, remind me?
I can't even think of a name. It's looks to be either 8 or 12 feet tall.
Okay. Hey, listen, you could just make something up and I probably wouldn't know the difference. You could say it's a Smith Jones 4719.
That's it right there. It's dual band, and it's been on the rooftop, second story, for about 9 years now, I guess.
Oh, wow. Well, obviously it does a good job, and I don't know that your elevation is really crazy good, but if you can hear just about everybody on the net, you're doing great. That's what we need to do is we have to have one net that's nothing but a liar's net. You lie about your elevation, you lie about your radio, and you lie about your antenna. See if anybody knows.
All right, let's get back at it. K1 SP. Oh, by the way, I did call you yesterday about 12:30, I think, from Monty. You didn't answer me.
I don't know if I have an alibi for 12:30. I have to think about what I was doing yesterday at 12:30. I think I was watching TV with the wife in the other room. And I don't think I would have heard you. But if I was in here, I probably would have heard you.
I should have emailed you to let you know that I was at that way. All righty, carry on. K1 SP.
Yeah, very good. That's Scott, Kilo 1 Sierra Papa Delta, and he is in Laverne. Good signal. It's got a decent antenna up there and doing a great job for him. It's an unidentified antenna. He doesn't want to tell us. Who else south of 40? Please come down. Hey, Larry. I think there was a double in there, but let's hold on to that double. We'll take Larry first. How you doing, Larry?
I'm doing good, Paul. I'll let you go ahead and catch them for us, Robbie.
Very good. That's Larry, Kilo Echo 4 Sierra Yankee Victor, and he is in Rockvale. Who else did I hear in there?
Kilo Golf 4 Sierra Foxtrot Bravo, Gary, Hendersonville.
Hey, Gary. How are you doing in Hendersonville? You know, Hendersonville, technically to me, is farther away than Nashville from Mount Juliet, just because I got to go around the block to get there.
Okay, Roger. Let me ask you a question. I just turned on the Simplex channel on to see, is this the Simplex Net that's on Wednesday and Saturday?
That's the one. That's me and that's us. We're here, been here for 4.5 years now.
Okay, Roger. I wanted to see, I've just got a mag mount antenna here in my bedroom on a little dual band radio. I wanted to see if I could get in without going in the basement and getting on my tower.
Oh yeah, well you figure with that mag mount from Hendersonville, partially I'm guessing due to I have a good elevation and a decent antenna, but you're almost S9 as I looked again. You come back to me and you give me that again, but I think you were S9.
Okay, the last two people that you talked to, I could not.
Yeah, you cut out there. Gary, did you blow a fuse?
I'm sorry. I heard somebody say that I blow a fuse. Do you still copy me?
I am now. You cut out there. You said something. You started to say something, and then it abruptly stopped.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear the other two stations just before me, so I guess if I got on my 60-foot GP9, I'd hear quite a few more stations over.
Oh, I'm sure you would. Where you are in Hendersonville, you'd probably hear most of the stations on the net, unless they were in, we've got a couple of guys like down in, Rockvale and Possum Trot, and let's see, Woodbury, and one down in Shelbyville. So I'm not sure you can hear them all, but you'll do a good job, I think.
Okay, good.
Well, Gary, it's good to have you on the net. How'd you hear about us? How did you hear about the net? All righty. I guess Gary either dropped off or blew another fuse. That was Kilo Golf 4 Sierra Foxtrot Bravo, Gary in Hendersonville. And he was working off of a mag mount. Wasn't sure what it was on top of, but it sounded like he was on top of a desk or a refrigerator or something. All right. Or maybe a file cabinet or just a pie pane. Who else? Where was I? I was actually looking for south, wasn't it? South of 40.
K4 OFO.
Hello, Donnie. You're going to make it to not this Saturday, but next Saturday's breakfast?
I hope so. I think I should be in town. Been beautiful weather. Certainly enjoyed it. Hope everybody else has. Good to hear everybody on net. The guy in Hendersonville was blowing me out. I don't know what he's doing, but he was very strong down there.
Well, I'm afraid to ask him to go to his 60-foot tower.
I have to turn my radio off so I hear him.
I know. He had a really strong signal. Yeah, Donnie, appreciate you being there. And yeah, looking forward to the next breakfast a week from this Saturday. That's Kilo 4 Oscar, Foxtrot Oscar, and he's another one that's about 6 miles south of me, east of Mount Juliet Road, actually in Hermitage, in famous Nashville, Davidson County. Who else south of 40? Anybody else south of 40? Well, we'll come back to everybody. East of Mount Juliet Road, please come.
WA4ZHI. NYA. Name's Dale. Good evening.
Hey, Dale, hold on 1 second. I got James in there first. How you doing, James?
Doing okay, I reckon.
You reckon? What, are we living in the Old West?
That's the way to say it in the South, man.
I don't know. I kind of like it myself because I say the same thing. I've lived south of the Mason-Dixon line for, I don't know, 2/3 of my life now, and I like it a lot. I've always liked it.
I lived in Chicago for about almost 3 years. You wouldn't say reckon there.
No, they don't know how to reckon up in Chicago.
Well, they can reckon. They just wouldn't say it that way.
I know. Well, good to have you in there, James. You sound great. The family's good?
Yeah, doing good.
Yeah, very good. That's Whiskey Alpha 4 Zulu Hotel India, and that's James, and he's right here in in the center of Mount Juliet, just east of the library. Good to have you in there, James. And I think I heard Dale in there. Dale, give me your call again so I don't mess it up.
Yeah, sure thing. It's November 4, November Yankee Alpha. Good evening.
Yeah, very good, Dale. Good to have you in there. Everything going all right over in Lebanon today?
Well, reasonably well. You had mentioned earlier about some paperwork you had about end of life, and that's kind of what's hit us. My wife's father passed away yesterday, and he was in hospice, so it wasn't a shock or anything. But we got that to deal with. But we're okay. We're doing great.
Yeah, well, it's one of those deals. I would never minimize what happens, but it's in some ways, I think it's better when you know it's coming. And even when you do know it's coming, it's still like a shock to your head when it happens.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know. Maybe you have time to wrap your head around the situation when you have a little time there, and that might make it easier. I think it does for me, really. But anyway, that's the biggest thing going on in my life currently. Although I'm waiting for that new Icon 9700 to come online, because I'm going to snap one up as soon as I can.
9700. I know I saw that one. Is that the really expensive one, or is that the one that's kind of mid-range?
It's a little over $2,000. You tell me if that's expensive.
Well, it's pretty cheap compared to the $10,000 or $12,000 Icon.
Yeah, that's true. I already bought the 7610, but now I want that new 9700 to go with it, because it does 1200 1.2 gigahertz too.
Yeah, get fancy, boy oh boy. I've had my 897D, the Yaesu, which now seems like an old warhorse. I still haven't used some of the features, nor do I know how to. Some of the things in the menu, I'm not sure what they mean. So the fancier the radio, the more stuff you got to deal with.
Yeah, copy that. Yeah, I've got an 897 too with a tuner. I need to sell it because I don't need it anymore. But it's a great little radio. It was. I'm glad I purchased it. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, no, they're great radios. What tuner did you have with it? Mine, I have the LDG on it.
That's exactly what I've got.
Ah, okay, very good. Yeah, it's a nice matchup, the auto tuner along with that radio.
Yeah, it is, and it served me well, so I can't complain about it. I wanted that 7610 with the big screen, and it's like having two 7300s side by side. So it's a decent radio. All right, well, carry on, and we'll talk again. N4 NYA.
Yep, just promise me when you go to sell that radio, you tell us first, and we'll put it on because we do that, as you know, on Saturday nights. We have a little buy, sell, swap, and swindle there.
Okay, I didn't realize that, but I'll certainly check in on Saturday, on some of the Saturday nights, and see if I can't liquefy some of the stuff I no longer need.
All right, sounds good. That was Dale, November 4, November Yankee Alpha. He's over in Lebanon, and he is, I believe, I'm not sure, what's the correct title over there for the volunteer manager for Aries?
Emergency coordinator.
Oh, that's what it is. EC. How can I forget that? He's the emergency coordinator over in the Wilson County Emergency Operations Center. All right, very good. If you need a volunteer, he's the man to contact, and his email, I believe, is on QRZ. Again, November 4, November Yankee Alpha Dale in Lebanon. Who else? Where was I? East of Mount Juliet.
Kilo India 4, singing in the barn. Good evening, Paul.
Hey, good evening, Richard. Are you on your new antenna?
I am.
You didn't have any more interference issues?
Not tonight. Everything's just as clear as a bell tonight for some reason.
Yeah, you're cooking in there like S5, S6 or so. You're doing great.
Cool. I might want to talk to Bill about that HF rig if he's ready to get rid of it.
Well, that rig is neat with it's got the tuner that's attached to it, and it's made by I've got the same deal. It's LDG, and those two together make for an excellent HF rig. And then of course it has the other port for the 2 meters 70 centimeter. The only downside, and in my case I don't care, the only downside to that rig for what we've been doing here is that it only has 20 watts on 70 centimeters, but 70 centimeters stinks whether you're on 50 or 20.
Well, it might interest you to know, and I was absolutely amazed when I did it. I took my FT65 last night and stood over here in the side yard between one of their storage buildings and the railroad track where I live, and I actually hit the West Weimar repeater, the HF repeater, not HF, what am I thinking? UHF repeater on top of the water tower at Whitley Station down there on my 5-watt handheld from up here, and it blew me away that I could do that. I could hit the river road, no problem, but I never thought I'd hit that repeater down west on 5 watts on UHF, but I got lucky. I must have been standing right in the very right spot.
I think the signal was probably following the railroad track.
Could have very well been. I don't know.
That's my theory. It's stupid, but I like it.
Comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Still listen. I spent 35 years with that organization and retired about 3 years ago. I'll turn it back over to Paul. Y'all have a good night. Everybody, hope everybody's doing well. KI4S, I'll be back to you.
Yeah, very good, Richard. What did you say, Michael?
I just wanted to tell Richard he's 20 over S9 tonight. Michael, I've got about 6 bars on you, and you're stronger than you've ever been. It's a good night for radio. Must be some good VHF propagation.
Yep, sounds like good. The only one got it bad is Rick out there in Ashland.
Well, I'm sure they're going to bring me to that issue as well.
Yeah, you might want to give him your J-pole.
No. I'd be more than happy to give it to him, but I don't think it'd do him a kind of sticking bitter good. You know what I asked? Well, I'll tell you after the net. KI4SIB.
All right, very good. Who else we got east of Mount Juliet?
KE4TWM.
Hey, how are you? I heard you earlier, but I was busy. You were called out about something. I don't know. You didn't have an emergency or nothing, did you? Wes?
No, it wasn't me. No, somebody else called in. That was not me. Anyway, things are good over here in Watertown. KE4TWM.
Very good. That was, no, I meant earlier today, sometime this afternoon, maybe.
Now, if I had an emergency, I'd shoot my flare gun up.
No, I didn't mean you did have an emergency. I said all I did was hear you. All right, very good. That's Wes, Kilo Echo 4, Tango Whiskey India. He is in just a little bit northwest, I think, of Watertown. Who else we got east of Mount Juliet? Anybody else east?
KT4, my Whiskey Charlie.
Yeah, hold on, Jeff. I had Kevin beat you to the punch there. KG4, Mike, India, Zulu, Kevin in Lebanon. How you doing, man?
Oh, doing pretty good, Paul. Hope everybody else out there is doing well, and not a whole lot going on over here. Just checking in, listening to everybody out there. Everybody sounds good, really good on the radio tonight. All right, well, I'll get back on the side. KG4, MIZ.
Yep, very good. And that was that was Kevin, Kilo Golf 4, Mike, India, Zulu, and of course he's in the famous city of Lebanon, just west of downtown. And now we got Jeff. I'm not sure where you are, Jeff. Where are you close to downtown?
I'm like off of Patrol Parkway.
Okay, so that makes it west, right?
Yeah, definitely west.
Yeah, I don't get out much, so you have to explain these things to me. But you doing all right over there tonight?
Yeah, doing fine. Doing okay.
Yep, so you have a good signal as well tonight, Jeff.
Lucky, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit of it. A lot of what we do is luck. The propagation gods, man, is what we do. I mean, they could pull the curtain on us and we wouldn't have anything. Well, very good, Jeff. Good to have you in there. It's Jeff, Whiskey Delta 4, Bravo, Whiskey Charlie. He's in Lebanon. Anybody else east, please come in.
Okay, I'm sorry, Judy.
Must be Lebanon night there, Stan.
I guess so, Paul. How you doing tonight?
Doing great, really. Nice cool nights and nice warm sunny days. You can't ask for more than that.
Maybe start getting warmer here soon.
Well, now you're going to have to go up and polish your antenna.
I'll pass on that one.
Well, no, I think my climbing days, if anything, are over. I might get up on the roof again, but it's not something I really want to be doing.
Not much on climbing either.
Used to be when I was much younger, but I'm not younger anymore. All right, Stan, good to have you in there. You doing well on HF?
Yeah, doing pretty well. I've added a few new ones lately on FT8, but kind of slowly getting there.
Well, it's a lot slower now than it used to be, but the conditions are. But FT8 and the other digital modes seem to help out a lot.
Yeah, up to 190 countries so far, so I'm getting there.
You saw this, the ARRL, there was some movements to have a separate DXCC and other awards just for the digital modes, like for FT8, because it was so much more different than some of the other modes.
Yeah, I know we have a DXCC digital, but I'm not sure. I don't remember seeing that they were considering FT8 and making that separate.
Well, I heard something about it. I don't remember the details. I just thought it was interesting. I knew somebody complained sooner or later, that, hey, listen, if I'm doing phone, that's a lot harder than doing FT8. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have DXCC digital and phone, but it's like they just lump them all together, digital, RIDI, and PSK, and FT8. They would all be considered digital.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Well, very good, Stan. Good to have you in there. That's Stan. He's in just north of downtown Lebanon, and Kilo Mike 4, Hotel Quebec Echo. Anybody else east? And finally, to the north, to Alaska. No, north. North to Kentucky. I heard Brent in there. Brent, you still there?
K4RBQ, yep, sitting here listening to you guys.
Yeah, very good. You doing all right?
Doing fantastic. With days like this, you can't be bad.
Especially if you got the day off.
Heck yeah.
All right. Do me a favor. I did it again. I just jotted. I get calls mixed up. I know the R, Romeo Bravo. Oh man, I'm gonna screw that up too. Give me your call again. Jeez.
Kilo Echo 4 Romeo Victor Quebec.
I always want to stick a B in there. I have no idea why. I guess it's that ham dyslexia.
It sounds like barbecue.
I guess just getting old. I think. So everything going well for you?
Yeah, it's going great. Have you heard anything out of Brian, my neighbor up the street here lately? I was talking to Richard the other day, and neither one of us have heard from him.
Well, he was at the breakfast this past. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, he was at the breakfast, I believe, this past Saturday.
Good deal. So he hasn't fallen off the hamster wheel or anything.
Oh yeah, we had to drag him out and drag him in. It was no big deal.
That's good. That's good. I was just wondering about him, whether I should be a good neighbor and walk up the street and knock on his door.
I don't know. You got to be these days. You got to be careful with whose doors you knock on.
Okay, Paul. Yeah, everything's doing good. You're doing good. I heard you sing about dealing with hospice. I did that 2 years ago, and it's not fun. I'll keep you in my prayers.
Yeah, right. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's ours is doubly worse because my wife has her mother here and my mother is here, so they're both 91 and 95, and just just these incremental declines, and they're both just started in hospice in the last 30 or so days, and as you know, it's supposedly a 6 month deal, maybe could be 1 month, could be 1 week, could be 7 months. I don't know. Nobody knows. God knows. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying. You're familiar with it, so you know the deal. Um, it's not in my hands. I try to take care. I mostly take care of my mother, and she mostly takes care of her mother. Uh, Thankfully, I don't have my mother can get up and use the toilet herself. Her mother can, so she's got some. I'll just say she's a crack addict at this point.
Well, that's okay. I mean, it's kind of earned it at this point. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing again with my father-in-law. And like I said, you think you get the kids out of the house and you're going to have some free time. Doesn't happen.
No, I never thought it being 69 going on 70 this year that I'd be in a position of taking care of my 91-year-old mother. It just never occurred to me before.
No, it doesn't to any of us. Well, listen, buddy, you be good. And I've heard about everybody on here. Richard was booming it up, and the guy from over in Hendersonville, he was knocking it off the top.
Oh yeah, you knock your radio off, whatever it's connected to.
But anyway, guys, you have a good evening.
Yeah, very good, Brent. Good to have you there. That's Brent, and he's in Northwest Wilson County, Kilo Echo for Romeo, Victor, Quebec, which someday I'll have it. I'm going to tattoo it on my left hand. Who else we got north?
W9BOQ.
Yep, Whiskey 9, Bravo, Oscar, Quebec, and that is Dennis in Castellan Springs. What's up?
I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed as soon as I finish this net.
Were you working today?
No, but I was putting up the inside walls of my shack, and I got that all done. All I got to do is put it in the ceiling now.
Were you using sheetrock or just some kind of a paneling?
Yeah, just really thin press board.
Oh, yeah. And that's what you were putting the insulation in the walls prior to that, weren't you?
Yep. Hey, I just found a impedance switch on my mic. I'm going to switch. I'm at 500, and now I'm switching to 50K, 500, test 1, 2, 3, 50K, 1, 2, 3. Okay, which one was better?
I couldn't really discern the difference, but normally which rig are you using?
I'm using my Yazoo 991A.
I'm pretty sure. See, I use mine on the. Well, most radios are going to be working off of that the 50K, not just like this one right here. The 500 ohms versus the 50K. It's going to be on the 500.
All right, well that's where I'll put it. And Richard was 30 over at my house. He's been the strongest signal so far.
Yeah, well, that's good. Probably no obstructions in that direction. He does have some obstructions to the south. We looked on a terrain profile here recently, and he's got these huge, like the Great Wall of China, just south of him about a mile. So it is a little bit of a deal, but he still gets through to Murfreesboro, but it's just not a great, going 25 miles or so south. It's just not a great signal. But going to you would be great, and other people like Michael over there in Belshire, he had him also, like 30 or 40 over.
All right, back to that. Are you doing anything after, like single sideband or anything?
No, not tonight. We're going to go ahead and switch between D-Star, DMR, Yaesu Fusion, and CW, but we're going to do it in the Russian Cyrillic language.
All right. Well, that's my cue to go to bed. You guys all have a good night. W9BOQ is QRT.
If anybody was wondering, I was kidding about all of that. All right, who else? That was Dennis. That was Dennis, Whiskey 9, Bravo, Oscar, Quebec, and he's in Castellan Springs, and he's still working on finishing up his shack in this barn, this out barn of his home, and he's going to have a nice little tower and a nice Diamond X700 on top of it. He's going to have a great system out there. I wish everybody could do that. I wish I could do that. All righty. Anybody else north, please come down.
KB9 RKK.
Hey, Frank, how are you?
Doing good. comments for I think it was Bob just now. When he hit it on 500 with the headset, we sounded a little bit more fuller, especially on the low end, so it did sound better, just slightly on the 500 setting. And Richard was giving me S9, and yeah, when he checked in yesterday on that HT, that amazed me that he was able to do that. So I witnessed that myself what he did last night.
Yeah, that must have been the expensive HT. Yeah, I did that same thing. Somebody else, Preston. No, it wasn't Preston. It was Robert out in where is he? Clascasis. He had the same issues. He hooked up his MC60, and I said, well, what do you is the amplifier in or out? And we tested that, and it worked fine. He wasn't sure if the batteries were fresh, and you could tell that when he had it in, it was great. And then he went from the 500 to the 50, and the 500 was the 50 actually made it very much worse in audio quality than the 50 ohms. So, or the 500, excuse me. 500 ohms versus 50,000 ohms, and the 500 was the way to go. I can't remember which radio he has.
Yeah, no, the 500, sounds more like a typical dynamic mic. Now, with these, like the Icon mic I'm using, it's got a, electret, like a condenser mic, so completely different.
Yeah, no, I got you. No, you really have to figure it out kind of for yourself, what works best for your rig. And, you also have to know what the rig requires, as you know.
Yeah, if you get a good match, even if you don't get a good match, it's not so much the volume, it also throws off the frequency response.
Yeah, I believe it does. Yeah, you're right. And, all right, well, very good, Frank. Everything else going all right for you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Caught there what you were saying, with your situation there. So, keeping you in our thoughts and wishing you, the best that you can do with that.
Well, yeah, I'm with you. Fortunately, well, we're not wealthy, but at the same time, I'm just glad we have the resources to do this without having to diminish any of their qualities of life,
Yeah, and that's really what it's about. It's quality of life. I'm sure they're grateful that you guys are there for them, to be able to help them. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, it's more cool. Yeah, you're right. My mother-in-law she has Alzheimer's, and so sometimes she's doing kind of okay, and sometimes we don't know where she is. She doesn't know where she is. She's kind of in la la land. But sometimes she'll tell my wife, she'll say, June, you're the best daughter in the whole world, and I couldn't ask for better, and I'm so glad you're here, but I'm sorry I'm making such a mess of your life, and that kind of a routine. And it makes my wife feel good and bad at the same time.
Yeah, I can only imagine. What scares me is, my parents live all built. They're in Florida, so they like I think I told you last time they were thinking about trying to move closer, but with the prices, the way everything exploded around here, I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, the big deal would have been if you had any money, you'd go down to Florida when that housing market crashed. You could have picked up a 3,000 square foot house for about $100,000.
Well, theirs is not that big, but that's what they did. They moved from the Chicagoland area down there, and they got a great deal. But then they're like, all our family is like, in Nashville or further away. What do we do? Well, we can't move down there. There's, the work's not there, so can't do it.
Yeah, I hear you. That's always a dilemma. Of course, I lived away from my parents for most of my adult life, so I guess they were just used to it. And I used to go up and visit, a couple of times a year, and they'd come down to visit me once a year. So it wasn't like I was a stranger, just being in living. Really, I found out this is the word of the wise. If you want to take your kids and teach them something, don't let them live in the same town they grew up with, because they'll feel too comfortable.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And that's why, I was kind of, that's one of the good things. I went to the military right after high school. I got to move around and see things, and I got to be away from family and everything. And I think it kind of helped me.
Oh, no, I don't think there's any doubt about it. Anybody who, I guess, moves away from that early life support system realizes that while their parents are important, there's a whole big crazy world out there to challenge you and have fun with, and hopefully the two never meet. You know, you know what I'm getting at. You just learn a lot from being away from your parents.
Yeah, my mom was like, "Stop calling me." When I first got stationed, I was out in California. She's like, go away. She was, kidding, but that's what she was trying to say. Like, don't, try to do things on your own, and it really worked, and it helped me. So yeah. All right, well, I'll turn it back over to Net Control, KV9 RKK.
Yeah, very good, Frank. By the way, you were still, 100 over here. You're pegging the meter, doing a great job with that silly little antenna. But obviously, we've got a good terrain issue between you and me. Who else? North, please come in.
KU4XQ.
Well, you said that fast, but I'm pretty sure that's Tim.
Hello, Paul. Yeah, KU4XQ. Tim in Hendersonville. Hello, everybody on the net. I actually forgot the net was on. I've been sitting here soldering and doing stupid things, but good day today. I ain't got anything, man. Just same old, but a beautiful day.
Hey, you can probably tell me. Did you say you work for a Toyota dealership?
Yeah.
So they tell me they're coming out with the Supra.
Yeah, it's a BMW.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, it's Toyota does stuff like that. They get the idea, and a lot of the hardcore Toyota people aren't happy about it. But there's a lot of Toyota in it. But we're having to get new scan tools and everything that can read their software, and I don't know. Toyota tells us it's a lot of Toyota in it and a little BMW, but you'll have to see it. You get a chance, pull it up on the internet. Tell me what you think.
Oh, I saw the image of it. I tell you what, it looks like it belongs on the track and not on the street.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's going to be awesome. It's just going to be, it's going to suck for us guys because, it's a BMW. I mean, those guys, before they can work on their cars, they've got to go to school for 9 months. So I'm sure we're in for some heavy duty training on, their stuff.
Well, I was just disappointed the top end was only 155.
Yeah, that's pitiful. A Corolla do that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that moves right along. I think it does. I think it said 4.2 seconds in 0 to 60.
Oh yeah, and I guarantee there's ways to open them up that'll get a lot more out of it. I'm sure.
Yeah, it starts around 60 grand, so I'm not sure I'm going to jump into one just now.
Well, I see one down there. I'll just bring it over the house.
Yeah. Well, if I'm going to get them, I'm going to get one for my wife and for me. We'll make a pair of.
Hey, that'll work. Yeah. I might do the same thing.
Yeah, those cars. Again, if I had unlimited funds, I wouldn't care. And I was trying to remember the last time they made a Supra. Was it in the 90s?
Yeah, man. I tell you, I lose. Toyota needs something. They've gotten so big and selling cars to the general public. They find out they can make more money, which is true. They make more money selling grocery getters and stuff like that than sports cars. But I kind of miss the Celicas and the Supras and the MR2s and the fun stuff.
Yeah, but that's the problem, is those are relatively, they got it because of the lower volume. They have to sell them for more, and then you sell less of them.
Oh yeah, that's why they quit selling the MR2, because it was a 2-seater, and it's fun for a while, but people always want to sell them and get something practical because they'll have a wife and get a kid and run their life.
Well, I don't know. Did you hear me tell you that story about my son and the Corvette when he was 15 or 16?
No, I missed that one, man.
No, I was just sitting in the living room, and he's all jacked because he's going to get a license, and that whole thing, And he goes, man, and he's looking at car magazines. The drill when you're that age. And he comes into me in the living room. He goes, man, I sure wish we could afford a Corvette. I looked up. I said, I can afford a Corvette. It was like I just lit a fire under. I'm not kidding. You should have seen his face. He went, well, let's go get one. I said we could afford one. I didn't say I'm going to buy one. I mean, just because I could afford to pay for a Corvette doesn't mean that's what we're buying for a family car.
Oh man, yeah. That's the way to bust his bubble right there. Oh yeah, man. I remember when I was in high school, all I wanted was a Lamborghini Countach, and I still want one, but I'll never have one. I'll drive my old junky Camry while my daughter drives my car back and forth to school. 73's, man, everybody around. I want to get off of here and go in the house and play with the dog before my wife kills me. Y'all have a good evening. 73's, KU4HQ.
All right, Tim, very good. My two cars of preference, which you can have any car you want when you got no money, but it was the Stingray Corvette, and the other one was the Jaguar XKE. Those were my two that, of course, I'd never owned.
Good choice.
I didn't go so high as a Lamborghini, though, man. That's really dreaming. All right, very good. That's Tim. He's in Hendersonville. It's Kilo Uniform 4, X-Ray, Quebec. Great signal, blowing my speakers out here. Who else? Anybody else north?
Hey, Paul.
You.
Tell Tim check out Jay Leno's Garage episode on YouTube about the Lamborghini Countach.
Did you hear that, Tim? You're going to have to email him.
All right. K4.
All right. That's a Lamborghini Countach. How's that spelled? Yeah. Well, hopefully Jay does. All right. I'll take a look at that. I mean, there's only so many Lamborghinis he could possibly own, but he probably owns a half a dozen. All right. Anybody else north? Please come down. Any late check-ins? Please come down.
KT410.
Hey, Randy. How are you doing?
About forgot. I had to go get me a Powerball ticket. I'm gonna win it, buy a bunch of equipment. I'm done start picking out equipment, but I about forgot to get in here.
Well, if you get Powerball, you're gonna have to buy me some equipment too.
Okay, I'll let you pick out a couple items.
Oh, and I'd just be happy with one new radio. I'd be happy with it. I'm not greedy.
I hear that.
I'm thankful for what I got, and I've had it a long time.
Yeah, anything free's good, ain't it?
Yes and no. Yes and no. You know, you just don't appreciate free stuff, really. You know, you go, I get it, whatever, you know. No, you know what I'm saying? Is when you have to work for it and pay hard cash for stuff, then you appreciate it.
Yeah, but after buying all that stuff and working and doing that, you know, it's not a bad feeling to get something every now and then.
Yeah, you're right. It would be nice if somebody gave me one of those high-end Yaesu Kenwoods or you know, ICOMs that are in the $8,000 to $10,000, $11,000 range. I'd be thrilled, because I remember I went over and worked. I think it's the high end over at when Tentec was over in Sevierville, and they had their shack over there, and I got on that. I think it's the Orion, their current Orion at that year, and I just thought, man, this thing is like a Mercedes, man. The way it operated was fantastic.
Yeah, that would be nice. I know I have a buddy of mine get on the railroad, and his granddaddy had money, and he kept on agging, and Mark said he kept on agging, said, I'm going to do something. And every time I'd see him, I'd just tell him, no, I was glad he got him a good job. But one day Mark come to me and said, you know, he ain't going to leave it alone. And he's got plenty of money, so pick out something. I said, you're going to name the price. I'm not going to just pick out something. He said, okay, up to $700-800. I said, okay. I had him to get me an ATR 30, which is about, I don't know, it was a little over $5 million or something. And you know, I was tickled to death for that. But you know, that old man wasn't gonna be happy until he got that.
Is that right? Yeah, that's good. Well, like I said, there's some. You know, it's easy to. I'm a fairly easy person to please. I mean, I would have never guessed when I got into ham radio that I'd own, you know. How many do I have? Three HF rigs and 2 or 3 2-meter 70-centimeter rigs and 2 or 3 handhelds, and you know, I would have never thought I'd have this much gear, but I'm happy I got it.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I like to do things, and like I was in line one day, and you could tell this was young, probably single parent, and she run out of money and had 2 or 3 more items there standing in front of her. And I told the cashier, I said, dear, if you don't mind, I said, just that's paid for, but just put it in your bag. And I said, just you're welcome. And you know, and I also like doing things. I like doing that more.
No, it'd be cooler if you could do it, and nobody would know. They just say, "Who did this?" I can't tell you.
That's well, yeah, that's cool too.
Yeah, no, it's funny. No, it's well, it makes you feel good to help out other people. It always does.
I always did like it. I mean, that's just like me hunting. I could always kill a bird or kill a deer or this or that and the other. I like scouting and getting them ready for them and putting them on them, and then they get them. I feel like I got them.
Yeah, I got you. I don't know if you saw that piece in the news today. This hunter out, I forget where he lived. It was turkey season, and he went out and he killed a turkey, and it was a rare wild turkey. It was a white with a black what do you call it? Neck kind of thing. I forget what you call it. And one of the guys that who's got a TV show on one of the big networks, and he actually called for people to make a live in hell for this hunter who killed a turkey, because he was bragging about killing this fairly rare white turkey, wild turkey, and which is legal. It's in the season, and there's nothing illegal about what he did. But this guy, because he apparently hates hunters, and so he tells 1 million followers to make a living hell. But now the guy's got death threats on him.
Oh yeah, that's stupid. That's stupid. You know what I want to do? Them people like that, they say, we don't like it. You can't do that. You can't do this. I say, all right. What do you like to do? If they said, I said, well, I don't like it. We're gonna ban that too.
Yeah, like eating maybe.
Right. Breathing in for him.
Yeah, very good. All right, Randy. Randy's in Franklin. That's Kilo Tango 4 Tango November in Franklin. Great signal, Randy. Good to hear from you again. Anybody else? I guess we're going for late check-ins. Please come in.
KD4ZGY.
Oh, you had to wait until the very end, did you? Did you?
Good afternoon. It's Kilo Delta 4 Zulu Golf Yankee. Good to hear Randy in there. And a lot of the others. I am a little bit late in getting in here, but do appreciate you letting me get in. I enjoy listening to the end of the result.
Oh yeah, we have a good time, as you know. What? Yeah, you were a good signal. You were a good. It looked like S7, S8 in here with that beam you've got.
I appreciate that. It does all right there. I think I need some of these days to find out what elevation I am. Heard you the other day talking to someone about you could tell what the elevation was between you and them. You ought to go on there and find my address and see what my elevation is.
I can do that for you, and I'll send you an elevation profile between you and me. You'll be able to see all the bumps and ridges and valleys in there.
Yeah, that'd be good. You got my email address?
I believe I do. Wait 1 second. Pretty sure I do. Anyway, hang on 1 second. I don't believe I do. You want to give it over the air?
I don't care. I'll mark them off. I don't like them anyway. Wapello, spelled WAFFLO306 @gmail.com.
And that is an O, not a 0, right?
Yeah, the first one is an O, and the second one is WAFFLO306.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that again. I missed the 0 in that 306. All right, very good. And it is W. Let me just say that again. Make sure I'm reading my hand. WAFF Whiskey Alpha Foxtrot Lima Oscar 306 @gmail.com.
That's correct.
I'll get it to you later. Have a good one. Appreciate you being there, Ed. That's Ed, Kilo Delta 4 Zulu Golf Yankee, and he is he's in Shake Rag near Shelbyville with a great signal. Good to have you in there, Ed. And it doesn't matter if you're late, really. Anytime's good. All right, anybody else late check-ins? Before we move on to the lollygaggers, lurkers, etc. Well, that's where I'm moving. Lurkers, lollygaggers. I need a cheat sheet. I added so many to this. Sandbaggers, lollygaggers, lurkers, SDR donglers, preppers, end-time survivalists, and I didn't mention the scanner listeners last time. And the end-time survivalists. Anybody else, please come in. Well, very good. Like I said, it was interesting for those of you that didn't hear the front end of this. I was checking the D-Star statistics on their own websites, and 60% of the people that log into the internet connected um, repeaters, the D-Star internet connected repeaters that go worldwide, 60% of those people, actually 61%, I just saw today's, is on dongles. They're not going in on radios, they're going in on computer donglers. In other words, going from the computer through the internet to the wherever the server is. I don't know where their servers are for D-Star, but then it goes out to the web, and then it goes out to a repeater somewhere else in the world, or to somebody else's dongle. So they got donglers talking to donglers. And that's almost like radio. Anyway, that's my commentary for today. I just think it's kind of silly that you have a mode that everybody's talking to each other on computer devices. All right, very good. You guys have a good night. 73, and I'll be on here for a little while. K4PEW. Have a great night. There was 27, which is another big night for us, where it seemed to be increasing the average. So you guys have a great night. K4PEW.
K4PEW, KI4SIP.
Hold on. Let me shut down the live stream before you embarrass yourself.